am starting this morning's presentation, and we're just so honored to be here, and we love creating relationships with other agents. And I don't think that's focused upon enough in our industry, but that's really what we love to do, is connect with other agents and educate people as well on investing. And I know we have a good amount of people in here that are already investors, which is amazing. And so what we're going to talk about today is how to build wealth. Yeah, I'm Lauren, by the way. I'm the daughter. And this is Jamie, and she'll introduce herself in a minute. But we all work together as a part of Ann Curry Homes. But we're just passionate about teaching people how to invest in real estate. And even though we do have a lot of people that invest already, how to 10x what you're even doing right now. And so as we go in through these slides, we're going to be having you guys participate. We might be picking on some people, but we'll be talking about how to get to 10 million through real estate investments, not just commissions, how you can become a multi-millionaire through investing in real estate. So can I have you guys raise your hand? How many of you guys rely on your commissions more than your investments? Most people in here. When you guys think about retirement, how does that make you feel? Are you stressed? Yes. Yes. What is the biggest stressor about thinking of relying on just your commissions and not investments?
Lack of security.
Lack of security. Do you guys all feel that, not knowing when the next time you're going to get paid is? I think that's the great thing about what we do, is we have great commissions, but also when our clients buy a house, sell a house, we're basically unemployed again. And so I think that can cause a lot of stress, because we're wondering when our next, check is going to come in, especially for people who have kids and are supporting families. That's another layer of stress. So what we're going to talk about this morning is how you can add in the investment layer so that you're mainly an investor, and then you can do commissions on the side, which is what I personally do. Let's see. Perfect.
My turn. My name is Jamie Egan-Beal. I have the honor of working with Ann Curry and Ann Curry Homes team, and we've been together about 6.5 years now. I've been in real estate about 12 years. I started out with one of the bigger brokerages 12 years ago, and I will say that when I first got into real estate, I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, and feel free to raise your hand, so I'm not alone up here, but when I started out, it was like, okay, now what? I come from a corporate world, and I was like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? I didn't know what to do. And you go to those bigger brokerages, it's all about affirmations and all these wonderful things, but they never really teach you about your mindset and surrounding yourself with the right people. And when I first started out, I was like, okay, who's the successful people? I need to go find them. I need to sit down and ask them. And I did. I sat down and I asked, and I still didn't feel like I was really getting anywhere. And it really came down to, I got onto a team and I learned the basics. Sorry, I forgot to do that part. I learned the basics, how to do real estate, but I really wasn't getting the success. I really wasn't doing what it was that I needed to do. And, coming from a corporate world, you're a worker bee, right? You're in that work mode, and that's how you do. But being around real estate brokers, I really tried to gravitate to the people that had a really good mindset, that started out with, you could see by their actions, not by their words, if that makes sense. And I feel that when I first got into it, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, okay, what is a mindset? Your mindset is really, okay, am I going to be successful at this? Am I good at this? What is my strength? Well, people were my strength. I knew that from the very beginning. People were my strength, right? How many of you here listen to podcasts or inspirational speakers, right? Perfect. Almost every single hand in this room was raised. One of my favorites was Tony Robbins. And because I never want to screw up what he says, I have to read what he says because it's one of the best. Where focus goes, energy flows. The path to success is to take massive, determined action, right? And that was the step that I was missing. It wasn't that I was doing some work and I was kind of, learning, but it was really about what my mindset was. Poverty mindset, I think, is something you can start out being surrounded by that, depending on where you were raised, right? How you were raised, and then who you surround yourself with in your public life. And I found that once I switched brokerages and I joined Ann's team, it was a game changer for me. That shift was like, she wasn't in it to be a millionaire. She was in it to be a servant. Her heart was servant. that was what my mindset shift was. I need to realize I'm serving the community. I'm serving people. And that's when everything started to kind of snowball for me. How many of you guys did goals at the beginning of the year or started last year? Okay, so most of us. How's that going? Are we on target? Yeah. Don't ask. Right? Let's go. But like, say your transaction goals. Like, are you making those goals? Are we kind of tracking? Because I know last year, how many made their goals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a few people made their goals, right? This year, it's like, okay, last year for me was one of the hardest years in real estate, I'd say. It was a tough year. It was weird. It was strange. There was so much market craziness. But this year, it's like, okay, I shifted my mindset. To give you an example, I started out, gosh, I think when we met, I was 90 pounds heavier. Yeah, and this last year, it was about a year and a half now,
Yeah.
I was influenced by this lovely lady who's the youngest, right? But she inspired me so much, and just being around her was like, okay, I'm challenged. I know that I can do this. And it took me about a year and a half, but I lost 90 pounds.
That's awesome.
So just being in the right room with the right people can change everything. And that's what happened. So yeah, 90 pounds down, I was like, yes, if I can do that, what else can I do? Real estate investing. So that's one of the great inspirations that Ann has taught me too. I just have one more, because it's really important that it's not just about being inspired and being in the right room with the right people. It's about action, right? Action is the number one step. Grant Cardone, who we happen to be big fans of, and you guys have met him in person. He's the 10X guy. Does anybody know who that is? Amazing. One of my favorite quotes from him was, disciplined, consistent, and persistent actions are more of a determining factor in the creation of success than any other combination of things. Take massive, unreasonable action. And I think that's one of the things that when you're shifting from transactions in real estate into the investment portion was, okay, what are the steps? And we are all get to kind of get that from Ann today. So I'm excited for Ann to talk about it and start us off on our journey.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
everybody, Ann Curry Homes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll jump in really quick. The reason why we like to talk about the mindset before we get into anything else is because we can talk all day about how you guys can make 10 million through your investments. But if your mindset isn't right and you have a poverty mindset through the way that you grew up or whatever, you're not looking for opportunities just because it's not how we are wired as humans. We have to like proactively rewire our brains to be looking at things differently, especially if we grew up in like a family that was always penny pinching or whatever. We want to talk about mindset first because we can tell you guys all day long how to invest and make, 10 million through investments. But if your mindset isn't right first, you won't be able to necessarily build the building blocks on top of that because the foundation isn't going to be as strong or secure. Not that the mindset can be changed in one day, because we all know it just takes time to rewire your brain. But that's why we like to talk about that, is because that's really the biggest piece before we go into anything else, is really thinking about, how do I think about money right now? How do I think about investing right now? How do I think about my commissions? Am I spending all of it right away? Or how am I investing that when I do get that check? And before we go into anything else too, we want you guys to be thinking about 3 big questions as she's talking about kind of the investing side. One of the questions being, what do you really want? How much do you really need? And who can really help you? And I think that's important because everybody's goals in here are different. Some people don't want to be rich and famous and driving the Ferrari. You just want to be like supporting your family and being able to hang with your kids or grandkids more. So everybody's goals and dreams are going to be a little bit different. And so that's why it's important for you guys to think about who can really help you, what do you really, really, really want, and how much do you really need?
I'm so sorry. Can I just take the last 2 notes on the mindset?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
And I can expand on some of this too, and obviously you two feel free to jump in. Some of these bullet points we've learned from other people in not even the real estate space, but just people that have big podcasts and big businesses. And these are the core points that we've taken away from what they teach. So obviously having an anti-poverty mindset, which we've discussed before, looking for money everywhere. So even if you're like walking through a house thinking about like, somebody had to make this LVP flooring and we're buying that for our flips. Think how much money that they have made just from having that, and then who they buy their own products from, and being able to look and think like, there's concrete outside. There's a lot of concrete. There's people making hundreds of millions of dollars just by creating that concrete, and kind of rewiring your brain to look at money in, you know, the big span of things rather than just like in a smaller world, I guess. Yeah. Avoid listening to the worried, because the worried, it's easy for that to get in our brain, especially if we're already worrywarts, and I am a worrywart, so I can attest to that.
The market's going to crash every year.
Yeah. Commit to commitment. So if you're going to be committed, go all in. Don't just say that you're going to be committed and then not do the actions. If you're going to go all in on investing, just decide this is what I'm doing and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And then thinking of everything from freedom and options, which is what real estate investing provides, is the freedom and option to really live the life that you want and not necessarily be tied down to being an agent, which is great in its own way. But I don't think any of us want to be 90-year-olds showing houses. At least I don't. So that's yeah. So that's kind of a little bit more about these bullet points. Perfect, you can jump in.
Awesome. Aren't I blessed to have two amazing gals on my team? This is not our whole team, but I think they're a great reflection of our team. My daughter, isn't she cute? She's like, Mom. And Jamie has been such a blessing. And talk about a blessing. Nicole and AJ and what you guys are doing here, I absolutely love. I love you. I feel like when you think about somebody who's so caring and thoughtful and generous to open up this space and have any agent, because I mean, you guys aren't all timber agents. So to be able to give back to people, I think it's the antithesis of what people think real estate agents are, and in their own offices, like, oh, we're competitors. And no. We are one big family trying to help people buy and sell houses. That's what we're about. So I just feel like you and AJ and Josh, and having this beautiful space. I mean, we just walked in and our jaws dropped. This place is amazing. So you guys are so blessed to have amazing leadership, and we feel blessed to be able to be here and just kind of bring a message about how to, like Lauren and Jamie said, how to break out of not being the 90-year-old person driving your little car. Maybe you have a driver at 90 because you can't drive, and you're having to show houses because you never kind of figured out, how do I get unemployed forever, right? Which is creating a retirement, or creating freedom and option and choice. That's what we all want, right? Whether it's like we have mission work, or we have grandkids that we want to be with, or we want to have kids we want to be with, or we just want something better than what we all grew up with, right? How many raise their hand and go, I want something at least a little better than what I grew up with? That's a huge driver, is it not? Do you get up every day and go, I don't want to be stuck like my parents were? I mean, I remember being a kid. Okay, I'm going to flash back for a second. But I remember being a kid in the 70s. How many of you guys were kids in the 70s? And do you remember the energy crisis? And like gas prices and energy was so high that we had to like turn our heat down to 64. And I remember I got in trouble one day because I turned it up to 66. We were in our house and we were cold, It was that kind of stuff. Like the car would break down and be like, there's this family emergency, It was a house full of love, but we just didn't have enough to go around. So that was the world that I grew up in. And so, who am I? Okay, let me get back to the slides. Get back here. Too many flashbacks. My name's Ann Curry, and I kind of told you how I grew up. When I met my husband in the 4th grade, he was in the 5th grade, and he told me later when I was 16, I knew when you walked in I was going to marry you, okay? So it's very sweet. We did get married. We didn't date in the 4th and 5th grade. We dated in high school. I told him no for 2 years, but he kept calling me every Friday night and asking me if I would go out with him, back when you only had real phones and your brother and sister were on the phone, so like somebody trying to get in, you know. But so he asked me out for 2 years. I finally said yes, but I think I secretly knew like he was the person I would want to marry. So I think I was a little scared, but put that off as long as I could. And then once we dated, I knew that was it. My husband is in social work. He's a pastor, so he helps people for a living. And when we were dating, he knew that's what he wanted to do, and I was all in. But I remember a conversation that we had. We were 16 and 17, driving in his old car, and he turned to me and he said, you know, if you marry me someday, we may never own a house. I still remember that conversation. I know exactly where we were. And I was like, it's okay, we're in love, we'll be fine. But I do remember, do you guys remember stuff as a kid and it like plants a seed? And you don't really realize it's a seed because it's so small. But later you look back and you go, okay, that was a seed planted that actually like germinated and grew. I remember having that conversation and being like, we're fine, we're in love, everything will be cool. But inside I thought, I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Little tiny seed. I was babysitting when I was 15. And I was in this kind of nice neighborhood. And I said to the lady I was babysitting for, I'm like, what's going on with the house next door? I'm 15, so I'm not that old. But I'm kind of recognizing, like, there's this house and it's being remodeled, but nobody was living there. And this is before HGTV, this is before all the stuff, right? So we had no recollection of, like, what a flip would be. But she said, oh, this doctor's wife bought this house and she's remodeling it and then she's going to sell it. I was like, well, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Another little seed, right? So these seeds germinate and they kind of grow. We had a cool experience yesterday. We took a group of high school kids, 30 kids from Sumner and Bonnie Lake high schools. And we got them in a bus. And we started at a pre-flip house. It was nasty, smelly, gross. You know, we wanted to shock them a little. Like, this is what it can look like before. And then we took them to an after house and showed them what it looked like after. We took them to a house hack. We took them to a commercial space just to like open their brains. And then we plopped them in a room. We gave them pizza. And we said, what did you guys learn? Let's ask questions. Let's talk about this, you know. Just trying to plant the little seeds. Because I know that I needed seeds when I was growing up, because I needed to see something bigger than what I could imagine. So husband and I get married, and I said to him one day, I'm like, I think we might be able to buy a house if we borrow the money from your Aunt Sharon, and I get a really good deal, and we have to fix it up, and. So we did. We borrowed a down payment from my husband's aunt. I still owe her that money today. Okay, and so we're in contract to buy this little house, and my husband's driving down the street with a pastor that he worked with, who happened to own some rentals. He was in his 70s. We're in our 20s. Okay, huge gap. And my husband was driving along with this guy and this pastor, and he said, hey, let me just take you by the house that we're trying to buy. And so they're driving by, and Pastor Bentane like pulled the car over, and he's like, okay, I love that. You should buy that house, but don't ever sell that house. He's like, think of that house like a little box. And you buy that box, and then you fix it up, and then that box is going to be worth more. And then you take the money out of that box by doing a home equity line of credit. And then you take that money and you put it into another box, and you go live in that box, and you fix that box up. And that was like house hacking. We didn't even know how to turn. It didn't have a term back then. He was just talking about buying little boxes and taking the money and doing that. So we're like, okay, I mean, we're in our early 20s, you know, we didn't even think we could buy a house. And here we are, we're buying this little house that needed a bunch of work. And we move into it, and I'm just like paint my hair, and I'm just figuring it out, you know. And we lived in that little house for 8 years. In fact, we had both of our kids there and had a basement. And so we fixed up the basement when I was pregnant with her. We put my son in the basement in a bedroom. And now I look back and I go, oh my gosh, what was I doing? We were, our bedroom's up here and he's in this basement. How would he ever get out? Or how would we get him out if something happened? But it's crazy what we did back then. And we lived in that little 950 square foot house for 8 years until it was worth more. And then we took the money, we took a HELOC and we took that money and we went and bought this horrible house after and we fixed that one up. And that was the beginning of like, okay, I think we're getting a formula here. When we were going through that season, my husband was making $14,000 a year for all four of us. And I was working as a preschool teacher and I was making $5 an hour. So this was kind of incomprehensible that we could even own a house. We were so grateful. We were so thankful. But that formula of like, okay, you have a box, you take the money out of that. And it was right about that time, gang, when I met who became a mentor of mine. And I was at a women's Bible study and I'm sitting at this table and I just introduced myself to this woman I'd never met. And I just said, hi, I'm Ann. I said, what's your name? She said, my name's Val. And I said, hi, Val. I'm like, tell me about yourself. She's like, well, we just moved here from California. And she said, my husband our two kids. And I said, oh, what does your husband do? I mean, I was making small talk. You know how it is, you guys. You're like trying to get a conversation going. And I said, what does your husband do? And she said, well, he actually owns 50 single family houses as rentals. And my eyes just got real big and I tried not to show it, but I said to her, I'm like, 50 houses? He owns 50 houses? She said, yeah, he owns 50 houses. I said, that's what he does full time? And she said, yeah. And I said, would you introduce me to him? And that became, that one sentence, like opened up my world because he sat down with me for coffee. And he said, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to show you. And I said, I'll do anything. I'll mop floors for you at your rentals. I'll do yard work. I was making $5 an hour, you guys. I could afford to not work for a few days for $5 an hour, right? Hello. So I did. I just, on my time off when the kids were in, I think they were in preschool by now, I just went and volunteered with him and I just said, Dan, would you show me how you did this? And I will do anything you ask me to do. So for 7 years, I followed this guy around. And I became a student. And eventually he's like, hey, Ann, you've got that little house that you own. You're going to pull some money out. I think I can help you buy another little house as a rental if you're willing to pull that money out. I'm like, Dan, whatever you tell me to do, I will do it. So he did. We found a cheap little house in the south end of Tacoma in a nothing kind of neighborhood. And I bought it for $64,000. And I spent 8 months when the kids were in school part-time. I'd go over, I'd clean this place up, I'd paint the walls. I did everything in that little house except for the electrical. And this is back before internet, back before cell phones, none of that stuff existed. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I had Dan to call, but I had to go home to use the rotary phone to call him to figure out what to do. And so I thought, well, I could go over to Home Depot. I mean, there's probably people at Home Depot that know what to do. So I would just go to Home Depot in painting my hair and the same, pair of pants and sweatshirt I'd wear every day to work because I'd paint and get all gross. And I looked for people that, usually they're older gentlemen that look like they're contractors. And I just walk over and say, excuse me, sir, I've got this problem. And what do I do to solve it? And he'd say, oh, just come over here. I'll show you what to buy. And then just go read the directions and then just go back and do it. And so that's how I learned. And that became the first rental. I fixed it up. I got the after repair value, the appraisal came in at $120,000. I was able to pay off my hard money loan. I put a renter in it and I thought, I think I did it. And that confidence just gave me more confidence to go do it again. Here's kind of the cool part about this story and why we talk about mindset and why we talk about goals so much on our team. Because I had another mentor right around the same time that I met Dan. And Dan owned 50 single family houses and another seed was planted in my heart. And I was afraid to say it to anybody, but it was in my heart. And I had another mentor just challenge me one day. It's like, write out all your goals, like, but don't think about how you're going to do it. Don't think about when you're going to do it. Don't think about the reasons you can't do it. Don't even think about any of that. Just go home, close your eyes, dream, and be bold enough to write it down. So I went home and I wrote down, I will own 50 single family houses as rentals. That's what Dan did. I will pay for my kids' college with cash. I will run a marathon. I wasn't even a runner, you guys. I was like 30 pounds overweight after having 2 kids. So I was not even a runner. I will make $100,000 a month in active income, and I will make $50,000 a month in passive income. Okay, fast forward 16 years. I did all of that stuff. I bought 50 single family homes in one transaction in 2016. Yeah. So do dreams and goals come true? Absolutely they do. But you gotta check your mindset. If I had gone home and thought, there's no reason why I can't do that. It's like, we own one house. I don't have any money. My husband makes $14,000 a year. I'm a girl. I had at least a dozen people when I told them I was going to leave teaching and go fix up houses. They're like, you can't do that. Like, you're a girl. You're never going to survive. And again, I kind of took that and I'm like, okay, I'll show you. So dreams do come true. Goals come true. That's why it's so important to go home and write it down. But why I'm so passionate about sharing how you too can build wealth through real estate is because I was the person that never thought that. I mean, realistically, that was not going to be me. I was the least likely to succeed with everything I had going on. So let's talk about how to do this, gang. You can get to $10 million a couple different ways. Okay, Jamie, I'm going to have you skip forward a little bit, darling.
You got it. Actually, I'll just stand over here.
Okay, $10 million. How many would love to make $10 million? That'd be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? You can earn away or you can own away to $10 million, okay? If you had 1,000 commission checks at $10,000 each, you could get to $10 million. If you had 2,000 commission checks at $5,000 each, you could get to that much. If you had 5,000 commission checks at $2,000, you could get there. 10,000 commission checks. I'd love to sell 10,000 homes. How about you guys? Commission checks at $1,000 a piece, or you get the idea, right? You could definitely earn away. There's no reason, like Lauren said, there is money everywhere. Money everywhere. Concrete, drywall, roofing. I mean, just look around in this room. Somebody made these chairs. They didn't make just 40 chairs for this room. They made thousands of chairs. So you could definitely earn your way there. Or you could own your way there. And this is what I want to teach you, especially you younger people. How many are under 40 in this room? Under 40? Awesome. Wow. Awesome. You guys have time on your side. I love it. I love it. The rest of us, we got to get going. Hurry. But hey, if we're working till 90, how many are in their 50s? You're in your 50s? Okay, so we got
40 more years.
We got 40 more years to accomplish this. So this is good. This is what I teach. This is what I taught the high school kids yesterday. This is the message that I'm trying to get out, because you don't have to do it like me. In fact, I would tell you, don't do it the way I did it, because at our height, we got to 300 units. I've sold off a couple hundred units in the last couple years because we're kind of redivesting how we want to kind of set up the next phase of our life. Also, we do a lot of ministry work, and that's important. So we kind of sold some stuff off so we can reinvest into the ministry. But don't do it like I did it. Do it like I'm teaching Lauren, okay? And this formula is what I'm teaching her. And you're 31, and how many rentals do you have or will have by the end of next month?
I'll have 3 by the end of April.
Okay.
Huge.
So this is, good for Lauren. Get to 5, okay? Can I show you guys how to be wealthy on 5? How many are up to doing 5? You guys, every hand should be raised, okay? We have till we're 90, so we're good. All right. We are blessed to be in a state where if you look over history, we double in value every 7 to 10 years. Okay, take out the big crash. I'm not talking about that. Hi, Vicki. I'm glad you could come, honey, not to shout you out.
Swap your spots. Sit on that side.
Oh, you want me to move? Okay.
So you can see the
Okay.
screen.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So, how many of you bought a house like at least 20 years ago? Bought any house? Were you in real estate 20 years ago? You sold houses for like 80 grand, 100 grand, right? We all did that. Okay, so we're blessed to be in an area that if you just look over history, this is not a promise, but you look at history, 7 to 10 years, we double in value, okay? So let's say you have one house. Can you all find a house for $500,000? Is that going to be easy to do? Yeah. In 7 to 10 years, that house could be worth $1 million, okay? Minus, and we're not even going to pretend like we're paying down what we owe. And we're not even going to pretend like we put any money down. Minus $500,000, and what's that house going to be worth in 7 to 10 years? Anybody? It's right there. $500,000. That's your equity, okay? Now, let's say you did 2 houses in the next 5 years, and you bought 2 houses for $1 million, okay? In 7 to 10 years, they should be worth $2 million minus what you owe. There's your net worth, right? You guys following along? 3 houses for $1.5 million, 7 to 10 years, $3 million minus what you owe. There's your net worth. Okay, 4 houses, you guys can do the math. Net worth. 5 houses, net worth. Okay, $2.5 million in 5 years. Now, let's supercharge that and say, what's that going to be worth in 20 years? $5 million. What if we double again in another 10 years? $10 million. That is not unrealistic, you guys. That is not unrealistic, and that's 5 houses. Now, let's say you did something really cool, and we're also in Washington, we are blessed that we are in a very DADU friendly state. What if you then added DADUs to some of these backyards? Did you know, and Melissa's here, did you know that sometimes you can borrow hard money to buy a house, fix it up, refinance it, pay that off, put it into a long-term 30-year mortgage, and sometimes that hard money lender will gift you the backyard as equity, and you don't even need any extra money on a hard money loan to build that DADU. So now you can get to 5 pretty fast. If you can build 2 DADUs in backyards, you can get to that 5 really fast. Right, Melissa? She's shaking her head. Absolutely. The best play. So we're not only reliant, when I was trying to build my little portfolio, we were just like single family houses, and then we'd have to go buy another one, then we'd have to go figure out another one. Now you can buy one, you can put 2 DADUs in the backyard, and those could count towards your 5 houses. So really, you might only have to buy 2 if you're willing to build 2 DADUs. But do you see how that, especially for these younger ones under 40, how that can supercharge your net worth? What would that money do for you? Would it help you not have to sell houses? Would it help you be able to have freedom, option, and choice, when you needed it? Would it help you do some cool stuff like be able to travel or, do, nonprofit work? I mean, what would that do for you? It's pretty supercharged. What's our next slide? This is the reality, okay? This is why sometimes we go through talks like this and we're like, oh, I'm so charged up, like this is so cool. I'm gonna go get on the MLS when we leave, and I'm gonna look for a house, and I'm gonna look for one that we can do a DADU, and like I'm gonna do this thing. And then you go home and you're like, because you kind of start with knowing little. You guys you guys are savvy, you're real estate agents. So sometimes, like when we're doing this talk, we're talking to people like, I have no idea what real estate even is. Like, I think that's a house, but you know nothing and your confidence is low, maybe when you came in the room, and then you hear a talk like this and you go, whoa, okay, my confidence is super high. I'm going to go home and I'm going to do that. But I really don't know everything about doing that. I'm not quite sure what to do next. And so you kind of come down and your confidence kind of goes low because I'm like, I'm not sure. And I go on the MLS and I'm not sure what to look for. And I think Ann said that, but I don't really know. And so you kind of get back down and you go, oh, I can't do it. It's too hard, you know, too many obstacles, too many things. And here's the thing about working with people, and that's why we wanted you to be thinking about today, like, who do you need? Like, what do you really want? And who do you need on your team to help you get there? Because when I had a Dan, my mentor, I was like, okay, Dan, you're showing me the way. Okay, now I'm watching you do it. Now you just help me find a house. I don't really know how to fix it up, but I'm going to figure that out. And then I ask you questions and I go, okay, my confidence is slowly growing again. And if I had given up here, I wouldn't have anything, right? And I didn't do it perfectly, gang, but I made a commitment to, like, I knew when I met him, like, I have to do that, right? Going back to those little seeds, you know, when Dean said to me, we may never own a house, like, I got to figure that out, you know? And that little voice kept coming back to me. I was like, okay, I'm showing up for Dan, I'm cleaning his floors, I'm cutting bushes for him, like, this is fun, you know? I could be making $5 an hour teaching school, but I'm out here in the rain doing this instead. But then, you know, I'm kind of like, okay, but he's showing me. And then one day he's like, hey, Ann, I think you can do this. And I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to do it. I was like, okay, Dan, I'm going to trust you. And I know you know what you're doing because you've done this a million times, but I'm just going to be a good student. I'm going to do it. And then I did it. I was like, okay, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. And then I think I can do it again. So the key here, gang, is like, if you're going to go home and write down anything, write down a goal and then don't quit, right? Don't fall into this like slide of despair. Ask for help. Ask somebody that knows how to do it. Ask me. Ask Josh. Ask Nicole. These guys can show you. Guys are in a room with people that have done this before. And all you have to do is ask for help. Ask Melissa. They know how to get you here, and then just keep going until you get your 5. How many would be committed to like at least doing 5? You think you guys can do that? Listen, if I can do it, if Lauren can do it, you guys can surely do it too, right? What do we got next? Questions. Oh, perfect. Okay. So, question and answer, my favorite part. And there is no dumb questions. Give it to us, guys. Like, I want to hear it. I want to hear questions, thoughts, objections. What do I do? Whatever.
Hi, I'm Linda. So I've been blessed to have a couple of rentals. And last year I have 6 rentals. And they've all been blissful until last year I dealt with my first eviction, where I went through the whole entire process up to the point where just waiting at the courthouse, because in this state we had to like go through the process while still paying the bill and all that stuff. And so I've been at a frozen point where I'm just like, what do I do right now? Because it's like I'm itching to invest, but now I'm like afraid. And so I wanted to ask you guys, because you guys been in this game for a while with rental, because I do believe in long-term holding. And so when I had that event, it's been 1 year exactly this month, so I'm just like PTSD. What have you guys done? I mean, a lot of people talk about just having nest eggs so that you have the ability to bounce back quicker and all of that stuff, but I wanted to know, have you guys dealt with that?
Oh yeah. You can't own real estate without having some bumps and bruises, you know, and I've had bumps and bruises myself. And the key is just don't quit on a low, right? Because that will kind of knock you, and you could stay down or you could choose to get back up. If you're going to own rentals, you're going to have some evictions, right? I remember the first time I had an eviction, I was upset by it, but now it's just kind of, okay, you know. Out of 100 units, I think I've only had 4 evictions over the last 4 years, but I don't do them anymore. Like I have property management. So you can put somebody in between you that just handles it. All you know is like you get an email. It's like, oh, unfortunately, they stopped paying rent. We gave them a chance to, make up for it, but they are obstinate. They're not going to pay. So unfortunately, we have to evict. And you're like, okay, that's all it has to be. So my advice to you is like get out of the tenant that relationship and put somebody in between you that can just be they know the laws, they know the rules, and it's going to be a nothing for you. You'll be like, okay. As far as like having a little nest egg, I always tell, Lauren's heard me say this a million times, but all the cash flow that comes in, so you keep everything separate. Okay, so here's your personal checking account. And then here's your rental account, and everything that goes in stays in. So like if you're making $200 a month on, house A, that just accumulates so that when you go through something or like a water heater or furnace or whatever, that comes out of that account. So it's not touching this, right? So your quality of life stays the same. And that whole account, it's the job of that account is to take care of those kind of things. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, that's to kind of how to insulate yourself and not get upset where it's like, okay, I was going to go on vacation, but now I have to pay for a furnace. Like that's not a great quality of life, right? Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did that answer the question though? I know. 6 rentals. You guys got to give it up for her. That's awesome.
It's a lot. It's just like, I just remember it sitting in court. I'm like, is she going to show or is she not?
Very emotional.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's like we had to like figure out the next step, which was like the sheriff. And I was just like, please God, I'll do better at screening.
Yeah.
And then she ended up, because we have camera on our, on the perimeter, and we saw her like leave. And I was like, she has left. And then she sent a text, like, she's like, which we had to wait for. She had to say, I have now vacate the property. And I was like,
thank goodness.
The best text ever.
Yeah.
You're like, thank
well,
you,
there was
Jesus.
like also like was it cash for keys, and I was being stubborn. I was like, I am not paying you to live in my house for free, and so then I was just like, please just leave, please go.
Yeah.
So
And it worked out.
it did.
It worked out. Yeah.
I'm
And
smarter,
how old are you?
stronger.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
36.
No, I'm 37. Shit.
37. That 1 year is really going to hurt you. I'm sorry. No, that's awesome. 6 before 37. That's amazing. Yeah, keep going. Put that layer of property management between you so that you no longer, that's going to be your last eviction you've ever had to deal with, right? It's worth the money. It's worth the money. Yeah.
And a question for you about flipping homes and owning long-term real
Yeah.
estate. What's your perspective on that in our area and how those two things can work together?
Oh, they're a synergistic relationship. Let me tell you. So, told you my story how I kind of borrowed the money to get our first house, all that stuff. I had to keep borrowing money from family members to do the first few, buy and holds because we didn't have any money. And so I did the first one. We were able to pull, on the refinance, pull cash out. I paid everybody off. And then I did it again. I was able to do the same thing, but then I really ran out of money because I didn't quite get to pay everything off on the refinance. And so the third one, I flipped it. There was no flipping. I mean, there was no word for flipping. It was just like, I ran out of money. I got to sell this house. So I fixed it up. I sold it. I put money back in my checking account. And flipping, the word really didn't come out until years later. But I was like, oh, I guess I started flipping houses when I was in my 20s. That's cool. But it was out of necessity. I just had to get more money back into my bank account so I could keep going. Here's the synergistic relationship of it and what Lauren, what I've taught her how to do. Flip one, hold one. Okay, this is the perfect scenario. Flip one, hold one. So you flip a house, you take that little bit of money, you put it into a rental. Go flip a house. Take that money, go put it into a rental. Now, it doesn't always work that perfectly, gang. So it's not like, oh, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to sell this one and I'm going to flip it. No, it has to work, right? So we found a really great. Do you guys know what BRRRR method is? You guys all know that. You're real estate agents, okay? So Lauren and I found a great little BRRRR. We're refinancing it this month, and that'll be a rental for us. Originally, we were going to flip it. because we're like, okay, you want money, I could take some money and let's flip it, but it was the perfect burr. So I said to her, I'm like,
Tell her how much
burrs.
we bought it.
Yeah, so we bought it for $260. We got a great price on our rehab. It came in at 80 grand, and the appraisal just came back this week for 545. So that was a winner. It's a needle in a haystack, gang, and that doesn't always happen. And so we were blessed, and like, thank you, Lord, that's an awesome gift. But we were going to flip it originally, but I said to Lauren, I'm like, I think the appraisal is going to come back, or we need it to be a burr. And so we'll only have a little bit of money in. So you have to kind of figure out like what the house is calling out for you to do. But we have a flip too. So I said, why don't we flip that one? And then the little bit of money that we need to leave in the other one will come from the flip. So like if you need to do that, that's essentially how I did it when I had no money, is like flip a little, hold a little, flip a little, hold a little. And that's how Dean and I were able to cobble together a portfolio when we really didn't have the money to create a portfolio, right? So it's like making something out of nothing. But yeah, does that help answer the question? Yeah. So if you could do both, do both.
What is, go ahead, Danielle.
Oh yeah, sorry, it looked like I was pointing at both.
You go, because yours is.
Yeah, what is your strategy, or what do you look for when you find these houses? Like, what websites, like, how are you finding?
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a great question. How are we finding the houses? On the MLS, I mean, 90% of what we buy is on the MLS. I have some good relationships with wholesalers, as you guys probably do too. Occasionally I'll get one from them, but I'm searching the MLS every single day. And it's really, what can you buy it for? Plus, what does it need to fix it up? But what's the ARV, right, after repair value? That's the key. Because you want to be in that 75% range or under it, unless you're willing to leave some money in. And Melissa can tell you all about that, because that's her baby. But if you found a house for, let's say, 350 grand and it needed 50, you hope it would only need 50, but you can pop that up to 550. I mean, that will work all day long, right? So you're really looking for the in this market, you got to look for the dogs of the dogs of the dogs. It's like foundation problem, hoarder house. Hoarder house had been burned down, which is what we bought 2 years ago. When flips were really hard to find, I was shopping at the bottom of the barrel, and this house was a hoarder house. What had been burned. And so like we couldn't even get through the front door to see the damage of it. We ended up having to scrape it off and build new. But you're looking for that gap in what's it going to be worth after, right? So just knowing your numbers.
I have two questions. I'll make them quick. The first one, we can follow up on that. I was helping someone potentially in this situation, and he decided not to move forward specifically because of that.
Yeah.
Couldn't open the door. We could actually open the door, but we couldn't really get past the door.
Yeah.
He's like, we can't do any numbers because I can't account for my
Yeah.
rehab budget.
Yeah.
So what did that look like to you? How did you decide to move forward with that when you aren't really able to make it?
I'm a big believer. Thank you for the question. That's a great question. I'm a big believer in having multiple exit strategies. An exit strategy just means I can get out. And I like to be able to get out two ways. I could either flip it and be fine, or I could hold it and be fine. So I'm looking for, like that particular house, we were buying it at a cost, like if I had to scrape it down, I'm buying it less than what the dirt would cost. I'm going to be fine.
Okay.
But that's how you eliminate risk, gang, is like you have to say to yourself, can I be fine two different ways? And if you can, because the market does shift, right? And so you have to be thoughtful about, I don't want to get stuck, and we certainly don't want to get stuck with hard money that's expensive. But if you have two ways to get out, you can get out. Because one of those is going to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And then are you guys investing out of state at all? And if so, why? If not, why not?
Let me tell you about my out-of-state experience.
Please do.
I could entertain you guys for days with stories, because I was thinking when you were talking, I'm like, I could tell you about the time when I was on vacation and I don't want to scare you guys. Can I tell you a horror story? Is that okay? Do I dare? So I'm trying to encourage you. I'm trying not to discourage you. But on my second house that my mentor Dan helped me, this is house number 2, you guys. I was a babe in the woods. I didn't know what I was doing. I was, wherever that slide was, I was about here on that scale of getting confident. My second house, I fixed it up. Took me, I think, 8 or 9 months to fix it up. Got a tenant in. My husband and I rarely went on vacation, but we're like, let's just get out of town for a couple days. And so we did. And tenant is a woman and her 5 children, okay? We're in, I can't remember where we went, but we had to fly to get to where we were. And it was about 8 o'clock at night, and I got a call from the Pierce County Sheriff Department. And he's like, is this Mrs. Curry? And I said, yes, it is, you know, and I'm young, I'm still only in my 20s. So like, you know, I'm already nervous, right? And I said, yes, it is. And he said, well, there's been an unfortunate event at your rental house and he gave the address. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And he said, there's been a murder. So I'm like shaking, you know, I'm a naturally risk averse person, you guys. And I'm shaking and Dean's looking at me and I've got the phone and I'm like, okay. So I put the phone down and I'm telling my husband what happened. And then right then my mentor Dan called. And this will make me cry. But Dan called and he said, hey, Pierce County Sheriff also called me because they saw that I was connected to this house because he had helped me on some stuff. And he said, I just want you to know that by the time you get back, it's all going to be cleaned up. What had happened was the boyfriend broke in and shot her in the head in the bedroom. And my mentor, Dan, by the time I got home, I'll just cry. He had cleaned it all up. It was her head. And he had the walls cleaned and he had the carpet pulled out. And I mean, he's just a godsend. That kind of stuff though, gang, that was my second house. Could freak you out enough that I'm like, I'm out. Too much, right? I went to the house when we got home. I went out and the sheriff's department had emptied all of her contents of this big 5-bedroom house into the back lawn. And it's interesting. I'm a person of faith and I just see how like God's hand was with me. Because God wants us to win, you know, it's my belief. And so I'm out looking at this all by myself and I'm young, I'm in my 20s. I say that a couple times because I'm not like a 40-year-old confident woman, right? I'm a kid. And I'm looking at this stuff and there's 5 sets of mattresses out in the backyard and there's couches and clothing and it was all emptied out. And I don't know why the Pierce County Sheriff's Department did that. I don't know, maybe that's like their protocol or whatever. But I'm standing there and I'm about to cry. And here comes this dilapidated truck coming down the alley. I'll never forget. And this guy that has no teeth and he's got his kind of hillbilly looking son sitting next to him in this truck. He stops, he goes, do you need help? And I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, back into my truck's empty. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'll help you out. And he starts loading this stuff in the back of his truck. And I employed that guy for like 12 years after that. Yeah, he became like my go-to guy that just would do grunt work and yard work. And I call him my little angel. But anyways, that kind of stuff can make you stop in your tracks and be like, forget the goals. I'm out, you know. But, you know, you get the right people around you, you get the right team, you get the right property management company that supports you. You get people that you can rely on that have been there, done that, and be like, I gotcha, you know, like Dan. It's like, I gotcha. We're gonna do this together, you know. And but yeah, if I had quit, you know, we wouldn't be talking here today, right? Yeah. Other questions, or did I just scare you guys? You guys ready to run out of the room?
I wonder how you picked up the 50-unit portfolio.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a great story. So part of my goals, the fifth goal that I didn't mention when I wrote down, like, I want 50 single family houses, I want to run a marathon, I want to put my kids through college. I wrote down, I will own a 20 unit apartment building. Okay. This is like, I had one house. And so talked about Dan, my mentor, but I had another mentor come into my life maybe, this is probably 15 years later. And I'm at a charity dinner and I'm at a table, much like how I met Val. And there's this gentleman sitting next to me. I never met him. And I said, hi, my name's Ann. I said, what's your name? I'm John. You know how we make small talk again. And I said, he said, my name's John. I said, oh, John, what do you do? And he said, I build multifamily apartment buildings. I was like, what? I'm like, I want to own a 20 unit, right? And he said, you do? And I said, yes, that's my big goal. I want to own 20 unit apartment building. And he looked at me, he goes, your goals are too small. And I laughed and I said, they are? And he said, yeah, you could do better. And he said, come to my office tomorrow and we'll talk. And he became my multifamily mentor. So we didn't have money, you guys. We didn't have the financial strength to be in multifamily. Again, it was going back to those goals. And so I showed up at his office and I said, well, I don't have any money for this. You know, I own some single family and I've been able to kind of do that. And he's like, you don't need any money. I said, I don't need any money. He's like, no, you just need a good partner. I said, okay, what else do I need? He said, you need a really good building. And I said, okay. And this is 2013. So that was after the crash when everything was on sale. So my timing was really, really good. But it was also when lenders weren't lending. It was when commercial loans were, they were contracted. It's like, that was still kind of like, we were just still coming out. Like, what's going to happen here to real estate? Is real estate going to go up? Don't you guys wish you all had like a magic ball back then, just a crystal ball? Whoosh, real estate was so on sale. But he helped me find a building, Josh. And he showed me how you could buy it. It needed a bunch of rehab, but it was a 60-unit building. And he's like, Ann, if you buy it for this and you remodel it for that. Now, I'd had some confidence because I'd been remodeling these single families. And I thought, okay, this is kind of scary because it needs $1 million remodel. And that number just freaked me out. I was like, $1 million remodel? I've only done like 80,000 before. You know? But he's like, we got this, right? I'm going to help you kind of walk through this. So bought it for $1.5 million, which is crazy. Put $1 million into it, but it was worth $4 million when we were done. So I was able to, I found a partner, my mentor, John, taught to me how to talk through the numbers. And I said to my husband, I'm like, okay, we need, $500,000 for this down payment. Like, we don't have $500,000, but I'd really love to do this. Like, who do we know? And he's like, well, what about so-and-so? I'm like, okay. So I called so-and-so. And I said, I've got kind of a cool opportunity. I'd love to talk to you about it. I was driving to that appointment with so-and-so and I was shaking. I was sweating. I'm like, okay, but John showed me what to say and I came with a spreadsheet and I was all prepared. But I'd never asked anybody for money before except for my Aunt Sharon, who I still owe the money to. But I go to this appointment and I lay it all out for about 45 minutes and he just kind of sat back in his chair and he goes, okay, I'll do it. So he became a 50-50 partner. He put up the down payment. I did all the work. I got us through the remodels. Supposed to be $1.2 million. I got it all done for $800,000. So we were able to refinance. I paid him all back his $500,000. And so now we owned it, like 50-50, but nobody had any money in it. So it was like an amazing opportunity. And I still own that today. But that's how I broke into the multifamily. So that seller that owned that building really liked the fact that, I put it under contract, I closed. It's amazing what happens when you just do what you say you're going to do. And that relationship kind of was established because they're like, oh, I guess we can trust Ann. She did what she said she was going to do. That was easy. And they mentioned to me when I bought that building, oh, by the way, we have these 50 single family homes and we might want to sell them someday. And I said, out of the boldness, I don't even know why I said this because it's not my natural nature to put myself out there, for risk's sake. But I said, if you ever decide to sell the houses, I'd love to buy them. And so fast forward 5 years, I got a call one day and they said, hey, I think we're going to sell the houses. And I'm like, I would love to buy them. It took a year and a half to put the deal together because they were in HUD contracts and it was very complicated. And within that year and a half, I think I put documents together like 8 inches tall to kind of help make this thing work. But that's how it happened. It was just through relationships. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for Anne or her team? So good. Well, hey, I want to kind of recap just briefly. Thank you guys.
Oh
Can
my
we
gosh,
clap?
of course.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us. It's fun to be here. It's great to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple of big takeaways, and I always love to create a moment like this at the end where you get to hand back to Anne and Lauren and Jamie the things they said to you that you're leaving with. So be ready. In a minute, I'm going to ask you, what is it that is sticking with you that's walking out of this room with you? Some of the things that you said that I just took notes on and reminded myself of is that it might feel big, scary, and new because it's big, scary, and new, right? And then once you do it, it's no longer the scary and new part. It's still the big part, and it's big for your future and things like that too. So that really stuck with me, and I'm so grateful for the wisdom and the storytelling and the vulnerability too that you guys brought to this space. What about you guys? What did you hear from Anne, Lauren, and Jamie that you're taking out with you? Yeah, Lisa.
Well, thank you guys for being here. You make me almost want to tear up because sometimes I look at what I have and I'm like, it's just not enough. I have 7 doors and
Awesome.
I look at it and I'm like, but I still owe a lot because I'm a spender. And so I like to put in brand new furnaces and like the air conditioning and all that. So that was one of the questions I didn't ask, but I can do it later. But I'm taking away that I am on a good route and that I can do this and that you made me really dream a little bit bigger.
That makes me
Thank you.
wonderful.
So good.
That's
Who
wonderful.
else? Danielle.
I was on your Watery event a couple months back, and in that event, you just came right out and you're like, hey guys, there's winners and losers in every market, so who are you going to be? And I think today just reinforced that of like, if you quit, you quit, but you can win. You can win at any time. And so thank you for just kind of reestablishing that and bringing back the simplicity of have multiple exit strategies. And if they work, they work. Do it.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to meet you too, by the way. Yeah.
Who else?
I like that you, what stood out to me is that you surrounded yourself with people who could help you make decisions, and you consistently communicated what you intended on doing. Hey, I want to own rentals. I want to flip properties. I'm going to own 50 units. And people around you, when you're surrounding yourself with the right people, are like, great, sounds good. And when it's the wrong people, they're like, that's crazy. That'll never work. I don't even know why you wrote that.
Yeah.
So it's incredible that the people around you like were able to mirror back and then create opportunities from what you've communicated to them and to others.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I think the key to that, gang, is find somebody who's been there, done that, right? Because the people who don't understand it and who haven't done it are kind of like, eh. But, Dan and John, they'd done it and they knew they could help me do it, right? And which is why we, as a team, were very intentional about getting this message out there, because I would have nothing if it hadn't been for those mentors that helped me, right? I was least likely to succeed in any of this stuff. So we are passionate about, we do, some events, free events for just the community. And it's just like, we just want to help people, like if they can get on board and get a vision for their life and want something better, that's what we want, right? So, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Lika.
I love your serving heart, and I love that you shared that, when you found that mentor, Dan, you're like, I'll cut your bushes and mop your floor, whatever, just to learn. And it resonated a lot with me because I helped my uncle build the DADU with Natalie.
Nice.
And I remember he asked me, he's like, basically along the line, is there like a commission that he needed to pay me? And I said, no, I want you to give my uncle the best service and deal. But in return, do you mind if I walk every site with you?
Nice.
Well, not site,
Yeah.
the process. So I wanted to learn when foundation was signed off and furnace. And so he was blown away by it because, so every code that was violated or whatnot that failed, I was on the email with him.
Good.
So that I can learn and learn from it. So I love that because I'm just like you. Like I love to be able to give back, and sometimes it's not monetary. So it's like, how can I pick your brain, but how can I also serve you at the same time so it doesn't feel like I'm just a taker. And so that was really cool that you shared that starting out you knew nothing and all you wanted was to learn.
Yeah, good job, Lika. It's so nice to meet you. Yeah.
AJ.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say I think the thing that kind of stuck out to me because that's something that Nicole and I have been talking about, and it's kind of a continuing conversation. It's kind of that beginning where you were talking about like, what do you really want, what do you really need, and who do you need to help you get there? Because I just feel like it's just a constant conversation for us of like starting with the end in mind, and then the relationships that we're blessed to have. We wouldn't be where we're at. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing if we didn't have some really key relationships that have just paved the way for us and showed us how to do it. Made us, better people, better investors. So that really stuck out to me just because it's just where we're at right now.
And what's cool, AJ, is that you and your wife are turning around and doing that for other people. Again, and do you guys know how rare it is to have a broker open up their space and create opportunity like this for when you're not in their office? This is so rare. This is the first time I think we've ever spoken at a brokerage that invited other people in. So you're being the person that you needed somebody to be for you, which is just a beautiful thing, right? Yeah, and I think people underestimate how much people want to give to you, right? I'm in this spot where I had the older Dan and the older John that helped me, and I don't think I realized that in my before I hit the age of 40, how much they have a need to give to have helped me, right? Because you get to a place where you're like, John owned 2,500 units or something. He was a goat. And, when he's got this little gal sitting here, it's like, would you help me? He wants to do that, and which is why you get to a certain point of your success and you're like, you have a need to give back. So you want people to ask you, you're not asking them a favor. You're helping them fulfill a need that they already have, which is like, I've got to give out of the abundance, because if I die with this knowledge and I haven't helped anybody, what a waste, right? All those experiences of having a murder in your rental. I haven't talked about that in years, but it's like all these things that we go through over the course of our careers, and then we get to turn around and help people get to where you are now, right? That's the goal. So, yeah.
One of the fun observations I wrote down, and I think is probably going to be something I keep with me forever and ever, Anne, is how many of these opportunities came to you simply from what you shared as small talk. Asking somebody else,
right.
What are you doing? How do you spend your time, right? And the opportunity then to match that with, and this is my intention, and how much relationship in small talk can lead to something bigger in our future too. So a great encouragement for all of us is the reminder that the person standing next to you in the Costco line, and all of these opportunities that you get to be shoulder to shoulder with other humans, do not underestimate the potential for you to be a blessing for them and them to be a blessing for you. We're gonna spend just
And ask.
And ask.
And I gotta ask.
Yeah, you gotta ask. Gotta ask. Yeah.
We're gonna take the next 2 minutes of your time to do what Anne has guided us to do today, which is to be bold enough to write it down. So we'll take 2 minutes to be bold enough to write down whether it's an investment goal, what you want to do next in real estate, or maybe it's not real estate related at all, but it's outside of what you think is in your capacity or skills, and it seems just so crazy that you might never reach it. Let's be bold enough in the next 2 minutes to write it down. And then we're going to end with a big family photo.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Let's do it. Darling, can you give me my water? Thank you, sweets.
I'm not going to ask you what yours is, so don't worry. You're like, I got to write down something that I could say out loud if Nicole asks.
I don't even know if I could put words to mine. I have my seeds. I have my seeds that I think about all the time, and every time I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I still don't even feel like it's big enough what I can think about, if that makes sense.
What was the class yesterday that you did for Sumner High School?
What was the what?
Was that a class that you took out?
Yeah, so a year ago, I was asked to speak to the high school just about real estate. And so we kind of did a talk, a smaller version of this, And it was a whole, what do you call that? Not a classroom, but an auditorium. A whole auditorium of high school kids. And so then we broke, and I just kind of stood at the front, and I had all these kids come up with like, can we have coffee? Can we meet? Can I call you? And I'm like, you know what we'll do? It's like, I'll get a bus and we'll get you all on the bus and I'll take you to different properties. They're like, yeah, let's do it, you know. So we did. We just put together like this field trip, and we had a bus full of high school kids, and we did that last year. And we took them to like a pre-flip, like a stinky, nasty, like bread that's been on the counter for like a year and a half, and it's like growing. It's, you know, the whole thing, and just to kind of shock them. And then we take them to a pretty house to show what it looked like after. And then we took them to a house hack, a 24-year-old that bought a 4-unit property, and he lives in 1 unit and rents out one of his bedrooms, and then the tenants buy that building for him. And we took him to a commercial space. We took him to a DADU project where they got to walk through the DADU, and we talked about how, you know, he took the dirt in the back. And so we just like toured him all the way from Spanaway to North Tacoma to University Place. And then we put him in a big room and give him all pizza, and then we answer questions. And so we did that last year, and then we did it again yesterday for this year's class. And it's so cool. It's an entrepreneur class, like it's an elective class. Oh, it is? So these kids are already thinking like, yeah, let's get your daughter on the bus. Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to get their wheels turning and talking about what's possible and reuniting them. Like, I mean, you might be a chiropractor, you might be an electrician, you might work for Boeing, you might go into the Army, but whatever you do, it's like get your house and get houses, right? So we're just trying to paint a picture and give them an idea of like what's possible. Yeah.
We just did well, I guess it's a flip, but now we're holding it. And so she kind of walked through like the whole process with it, so it was really good. So she knows that I'm
Good.
amazing.
Good.
So I think it'd be good for her.
Yeah. Let's get her on that bus next year.
One last question for Andrew.
Yeah, just one quick question. So when you're looking for these houses to buy, whether it's to rent or flip, are you looking specifically how long they've been on the market in your search or no?
No, you know, the beautiful thing about having some experience is like I can look on the MLS and go, no. Oh, possible. Just because I'm click. I'm kind of doing the numbers in my head really fast. But I do look for like houses with basements, unfinished basements. That's how we popped the ARV so high on the one that we just did. Because it was a cute little house and then it had an unfinished basement that was the same size as the main floor. And so we turned that into a 2-bedroom, 1-bath with a bonus room. And so we doubled the square footage, and that's how we got the ARV so high. So I'm looking for value add of any kind. Like it's a hoarder burn down house. It's a house that has an unfinished basement. It's a place that has a backyard that we can build ADUs. So value add in every, but I'm just kind of like clicking through and finding the potentials. I don't really care how long they've been on the market. Some of the really good stuff is like up for 24 hours and then somebody like me is buying it. So, yeah.
That's good. Awesome.
I'm sorry if I missed your answer to this when Danielle asked, do you own any out of state?
Oh, we never answered that. Do we have time?
Yeah.
I don't anymore. So I'll give a quick answer because I know we're running out of time. But so back in 2007, when we felt like prices really were getting really high. Do you guys remember that? It's like, oh, prices keep going up and up and up right before the crash. And I was like, okay, prices in Tacoma are getting really high because I was taught that if you buy a house for $100,000 and you get $1,000 a month in rent, the 1% rule. Have you guys ever heard the 1% rule? I was taught, like, just from a quick glance, like that'll work, right? So then prices in Tacoma gotten higher, and I couldn't get the 1% rule. But I'm like, oh, but if I go to like Ohio, I can do that. So from like 2007 through the crash, I was buying in Ohio, Cleveland, Cincinnati. And the craziest stuff would happen, you guys. It was just like crazy. But what would happen was I'd have a property management company and they'd say, okay, Ann, we got this vacant house. The tenant just turned over. We're going to put new carpet in it. I was like, great, send me the bill for the carpet. I pay the bill. The next day, mysteriously, that carpet would be gone. And I was like, at first I was kind of like, what happened? Well, somebody broke in and they took the carpet. I'm like, that's weird. Like the next day the carpet's gone. And so my little antlers are going off and I'm kind of like, this is a little weird. And so then I kept having weird instances happen and I couldn't just get on a plane. It was 2 planes to Cincinnati. I'm like, I can't. I had little kids at the time. And I'm like, I can't just keep getting on planes to go check on my stuff. And so for about 4 years, I'd buy houses for like 45 grand. We put a couple $1,000s into it, and then I'd rent it for $850. The numbers were phenomenal, but I kept getting ripped off. And I'm just like, forget it. I sold everything, and I just came back. It was after the crash, so real estate was on sale here again. I'm not saying it won't work, but here's the thing that I would say that is a huge change, and it was when somebody taught me about the value of appreciation. Because Cincinnati, the Midwest just kind of goes like this. I mean, it might have a little increase like that, but it just really doesn't do much. And what I would say to you guys, and this is a rule of thumb to live by, you are not going to get rich from your cash flow. You are not going to get rich from your cash flow. When people say, I want to retire and I'll have 10 rentals and they'll each pay $500 a month, I'm like, stop right there. Because it's like you need furnaces and then the hot water tank and then the tenant moves out and then your cash flow is getting eaten up, and yes, have that in a separate account so it pays for itself. But the cool thing that we have about where we live, you guys, is that appreciation. That's how you get wealthy, not off of $200 a month on each unit, right? I've got the 59 unit apartment building that I've owned since 2013. And I get a little a month. It's not enough to live on. And that's 60 doors. But what happened on that building is it went up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And I look at my net worth and I'm like, whoa, like, wow, that's awesome, right? So that's how you get freedom, is through the appreciation. That's why I say, get your 5 houses, don't sell them. Let them appreciate. In 20 years, you're going to thank yourself.
Huge.